So I want to talk about the same thing I'm always talking about, which is this yin and yang thing when it comes to learning, this versus focus mentality of finding how can I split this topic into two opposing sides that I'm going to contrast against each other. But it's kind of cool because I want to talk about how I used it in a situation outside of studying, and I kind of noticed how it's been helpful for me in other areas. I'm extremely I'm trying to be less ignorant and incompetent with my car and with cars in general. So I'm looking under the hood of my car the other day. This is not my car. This is a picture from online. But I opened it and it looked like this mess. And it's like all these million of wires and tubes and things. And it was very overwhelming. And I think if you're like me, then you look at something like that and you think that you have to like account for every thing there. Might be your first thought. Like, oh, I need to know like all of these tubes and I don't know all of them. So that means I just cannot even like look at this or understand what I'm looking at in any way. And what helped me was when I reminded myself to do what I do with my sketchy images. When I'm looking at sketchy, they have so many drawings and crap on the page, right? So I will even split that. I started realizing that normally the sketchy will have like two sides to it. Like there's the one where there's like bunnies in the salon or something on this side, and then they're getting a mud bath, and then they're getting like a freaking haircut on this side. I don't remember, but the room is split into two sides. Or there's one for like dyspepsia drugs where like there's a lemonade stand on this part of the thing, and then there's like a freaking tree here, and then there's like a truck here or something. So the whole point was that it's like, oh, even though it looks like there's so much random crap on this page, it basically splits into the three parts of this sidewalk. It's like the top sidewalk, the bottom sidewalk here, and then the corner in between them. So I was able to split it into only three parts. Or sometimes it'll split into two parts. So I said, let me do the same thing with this. So my first attempt is always to split it into two, right? Because that's yin and yang. Of course, I couldn't do that here because there's this big weird box in the middle. So I'm like, okay, it basically splits into three then. I have this middle part, right, taking up about a third of the space under this hood. I have the right part and I have the left part. And these are not, the terminology that an actual car person would use, like an actual mechanic that knows what they're talking about. But even being able to say left, middle, and right and have an actual delineation made me feel way more comfortable. Then I was able to look at a diagram and actually like kind of make sense of that diagram. This thing is, of course, where let me not say, of course, try to pretend like I know, like this is obvious to me and like I know these basic skills, because I actually don't. So let me not even pretend. This thing is where the thing goes to boost the car when the battery dies. This is where you plug it. There's a red one, there's a black one, right? But instead of just saying like, oh, I know what it looks like because it's red, but if it was slightly in a different spot, I'm going to be lost and confused. I can tell myself, okay, on my car, there's three parts. On the right, I have these plug things, and I have this, I think this is the fuse box. There's a box where all the electrical stuff is called the fuse box. And I think this is it here beside the battery parts to charge the battery. I'm just like, see? I'm at least able to like partly remember or guess or whatever because I have it split into three parts. Then it's like, okay, this side, these bottles have the fluids. Somewhere here is the oil reservoir, and one of these is going to be the coolant reservoir, and one of these is going to be like a coolant overflow or coolant expansion tank or something of that nature. But it's like, okay, see, I look at the left and I see these bottles. I look at the right and I see a thing that has probably some fluid in it, maybe brake fluid or something. It's like, okay, I'm able to look at it in parts now. Whereas before, I was literally looking at this whole thing and all these horrible tubes at once, and this was just impossible. So like now I can look at it, and my first move is going to be, okay, I'm going to split this into how many parts? I can't do 2 with this thing in the middle, so I split it into 3. All right, I got this battery stuff over here, the red thing here, that there, this big box in the middle, whatever it is, and this the freaking container of fluid here. It's like, all right. So now as I learn more things, I can place them. Like this is the dipstick to check the oil. It's like, okay, I noticed that it's in the kind of in the left compartment. Or I could even say it's honestly in the bottom of the middle compartment. Because now that I have a big picture, I can get more detailed. Like this middle part actually seems to split into a top and a bottom. And this box that's the main part of it is only the top. So then the bottom part that's close to me, that's where I'm going to look for my dipstick. See, and now I notice a dipstick here that I didn't notice before because these are the same kind of car. Okay, my point here is when I first look at something like this, I feel like I have to know all of it or I can't know anything. And I feel like I don't know where to start. But I don't approach things that way anymore because I've made a habit more recently out of splitting things in this way. Let me break it down into parts. I don't need to know all of the actual components. Let me just have the biggest, most simplest possible categories that I can think of. Of course, the simplest category is going to be left, middle, right for something like this. So I'm splitting it, yin versus yang, right, into 2 sides. Of course, in this instance, I was forced to split into 3 sides. That fit better. But I'm splitting it into a very small number of sides, and I'm doing that visually, whereas I normally do that conceptually in class. But it's like, okay, it applies visually as well, whether it's on a sketchy image or whether it's looking at this car stuff. So that's actually the point of this video. It's a visual split. This yin and yang mentality towards learning, it can be applied and should be applied visually as well as conceptually. And it gets me to zoom out, look at the big picture, and start having these visual groups, left, middle, right, instead of just looking at the whole thing at once and being overwhelmed. Let me see if I can even find that that diagram. There was one that actually was labeled. I'm not sure about this. That doesn't look the same. Because I tried to split into my parts and I don't see the big box in the middle. See, I'm using my brain a little bit. Copy. Let's see. What do I think of this? I don't see my box. Where's the big box in the middle? I think this is just a bad drawing. Maybe that's it. Anyways, split. I think that's it, so I split that. And of course I split this off because I'm looking at this. This is going to be that fuse box electrical stuff, I think. Where's the label? Well, of course there's no label. Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to spend time trying to do this on video. That's the idea. That's the idea. So, in progress, right? Okay. Visual split. Beautiful.